Hello everyone, I'm Bhavish. In today's video, we are going to start a new series which is deep dive into COBOL. So this is supposed to be a very large and a very deep dive video series where each video could possibly be 20 minutes to 30 minutes long. And in the series of these videos, we are going to discuss about COBOL in a great detail, and we are going to do that through follow along by reading a book. So we are going to read a book together. We are trying to understand. We will try to understand what it is trying to say, and this is my first time reading the book as well. So yeah, let us start. So now, why did I choose this book? So this is CODASYL COBOL, Journey of Development, 1968. So why did I decide to go with this specific book? It's because the number one reason is this is an copyright free book, and the number two reason is that the book is very old. So this is from the era where COBOL was being developed or just was developed or was in discussions on what rules are to be kept for COBOL. So this will form a very good base for us to understand the language in a great detail. So let us begin. So the book is CODASYL COBOL, Journey of Development 1968, and it has a stamp of August to May 1969. Okay, so now what is CODASYL? So I have a Wikipedia page open. Let us go through this as well. So CODASYL, the Conference Committee on Data Systems Languages, also a consortium formed in 1959 to guide the development of a standard programming language that could be used on many computers. This effort led to the development of programming language COBOL, the CODASYL data model, and other technical standards. CODASYL's members were individuals from industry and government involved in data processing activity. Its larger goal was to promote more effective data systems analysis, design, and implementation. The organization published specifications for various languages over the years, handling these over to official standard bodies like ISO, ANSI, or their predecessors for formal standardization. So what I understand by this is CODASYL is a committee which is predominantly in the United States. I think I have this page does not mention this, but I think it was a US based committee, and they wanted to have a standard language or standard rules for a language, and that led to the development of COBOL. So it has history and other things as well. So let us read one paragraph. CODASYL is remembered almost entirely for two activities: its work on the development of the COBOL language and its activities in standardizing database interfaces. It also worked on a wide range of other topics, including end-user form interfaces and operating system control languages. These projects had little lasting impacts. The remainder of this section is concerned with CODASYL's database activities. Okay, so let us now move back to the to the book. So CODASYL, as we understood, is actually a group or a committee which was formed in the US to make standards and to develop standards for a common programming language. So yeah, let us begin. So this book says US Department of Commerce National Bureau of Standards. So I think this book tries to specify what are the standards for the COBOL programming language. United States Department of Commerce and National Bureau of Standards. CODASYL COBOL, Journey of Development, 1968. National Bureau of Standards Handbook, 106. 344 pages, July 1969. For sale by the Superintendent of Documents, U.S. Government Printing Office, Washington, D.C. Okay. Yeah, so abstract. This document is a report to the COBOL community from the Conference of Data Systems Languages, CODASYL. So the full form is mentioned here, Conference on Data Systems Languages. So this document is a report to the COBOL community from CODASYL Common Business-Oriented Language COBOL Programming Language Committee. It is an official report documenting the development activities of CODASYL through July 1968. So it is a documentation of sorts which keeps a track of all the development activities which were going on at that time. Okay, so let us move ahead. So history of COBOL specification documents. So there are different versions of COBOL, I think, which were published. So COBOL 60, which was published in 1960. I'm not sure if this was the first one, but it looks like this is the first version of COBOL which was published. Next is COBOL 61. I think the numbers are also your the last two digits of the year. So COBOL 60, COBOL 61, 1961, COBOL 61 extended. So they did not give 63 to it. I'm not why, but then yeah, weird naming standards pops up sometimes. COBOL 65, published in 1965. COBOL Journal of Development, 1968. So the COBOL development does not end here, although this book says that is only till 68 because the book was published at that point of time. But COBOL, I think the latest changes to the COBOL also adds object-oriented features to the language, the newest version of COBOL. Anyhow, let us continue with the book. So, forward. Under public law, the Secretary of Commerce was given important responsibilities for improving the procurement, utilization, and management of computers and related information systems in the federal government. To carry out the Secretary's responsibilities under the Brooks Bill, the NBS Center for Computer Sciences and Technology provides leadership and coordination for government efforts in the development of voluntary commercial information processing standards. A major problem in the use of electronic data processing equipment lies in the inability to store the data processing application in such a way that computer programs are developed to maintain with a minimum of time and programming effort. A common business-oriented computer language, independent of any make or model of computer, would do much to solve this problem. So I think this highlights the problems which people were facing, or the U.S. government was facing at that point of time. So they had a lot of different types of computer systems in 1969. I think I'm not exactly sure what the builds were or which companies were making computers, but that problem seems to arise from the fact that there were different hardwares or different softwares or different operating systems of computers, and they did not have a common language, common programming language, or an application which would run on different types of systems. I think then in later years, Java was the best solution. Java turned out to be the best solution to be a multi-platform language. But I think the problem dates back to 1950s and 1960s, where people still did not have a common language. So that is what they're trying to solve. They're trying to create a application programming language which is easy to maintain. Maintenance is minimal, and it is it is able to run on multiple platforms. So since 1959, the Conference on Data Systems Languages, CODASYL, has been active in the development, specification, and maintenance of a common business-oriented language. So the development started from 1959. So COBOL, the development of COBOL language started from 1959 by CODASYL. I think so. Yeah, CODASYL has been active in development, specification, and maintenance of COBOL. The current activity within CODASYL on the development of COBOL is being conducted by the Programming Language Committee, composed of voluntary representatives from computer manufacturers and users in the industry and the federal government. So CODASYL has groups of different types of people. So it is conducted by the Programming Language Committee, which has representatives from computer manufacturers. So computer hardware manufacturers were also included as part of CODASYL, as part of the Programming Language Committee, and users in the industry and the government. So the US federal government was also involved in uh, inputs to the development of the COBOL programming language. The present publication represents a report to the COBOL community from CODASYL Programming Language Committee on the development of COBOL through July 1968. So this book is actually a report which was prepared by CODASYL, and it is for COBOL community, and it lists down all the developments done from 1959 to 1968. The National Bureau of Standards is pleased to have the opportunity to make this information available through publication of an NBS handbook. Okay, so moving ahead. Okay, so we have read the forward. So this is the preface. And after preface, what do we have? We have acknowledgement. Okay, so let's go back to preface and cover it. Preface. This document is a report to the COBOL community from the CODASYL COBOL programming language community. It is an official report documenting the development activities of CODASYL through January 1968 and is subject to change, extension, and further development. Neither this document nor any of its precursors, that is COBOL 60, 61, 61 extended, and COBOL 65, are to be construed as official standards. Standardization of COBOL in the United States is in the purview of USASI Committee X3, and it rather than CODASYL is responsible for preparation and submission for approval of a COBOL standard. So they are mentioning that this is not a standard. So there may be future changes, or CODASYL is not responsible, and CODASYL is not responsible for standardization. So there's a different committee for standardization. COBOL Journal of Development is composed of 3 sections as follows. Section 1. So this book is divided into 3 sections, it says. First section is History of CODASYL COBOL Development. So what happened till now. Philosophy of COBOL use. So why to use COBOL or of the sorts, I think so. Why is COBOL in use and why to use it. And section 3 is the language specifications, which would probably detail the syntax and the semantics of the language. It is intended that the Journal of Development be published no more often than once each year and no less often than every 3 years. So these people are trying to have at least one publication every 3 years and at max one every year. Okay, the objectives for the different sections are as follows. So yeah, so they are expanding on the sections which we saw. So first section is History of CODASYL COBOL Development. So what are they saying on the history is that this is a chronological record. This section is a brief history of the CODASYL organization and the development of the COBOL language definition from 1959 through the specification and publication of the present document. So it lists down all the changes till 1968, I think, yeah, 68 when the document was prepared. Participating companies during this period are noted as well as the official documents that have been published by the CODASYL Executive Committee. Okay, so section 2. Section 2 is Philosophy of COBOL use. In the design and use of the COBOL language specifications, a philosophy of language use exists from both an implementer and a user point of view. This section is included as an expression of language guidelines to the user of the language to aid the in-depth understanding of both the implementer and user. Guidelines include background discussion of extended language features whose data processing concepts are not always evident. Guidelines also include objectives that the COBOL designers considered in the need for a COBOL language and discuss the practical experience that is known today in relation to the original objectives. Section 3. This self-contained section is a complete formal semantic description of the COBOL language specification. The need for a thorough language definition without philosophical treatment of design criteria is the objective in the presentation of language. Yeah. So I've just explained what the sections are going to be. So section number 2 is about what is the philosophy of COBOL. So it is from both the implementers, I mean the designer of the language point of view and the user's point of view. And it is an in-depth understanding from both the perspectives. And it also includes objectives that the COBOL designers considered while designing the language and practical experience that is known today in relation to the original objectives. It discusses on the use of the language. And the third section is, as we discussed before, is about semantics on what is the structure of the language. Okay, so I'm thinking that this uh, video should be ended today, and we'll continue with the rest of the book in the next video. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe if you like my content. Thank you. Bye bye.